Democrat Richard Blumenthal agrees with Senate Minority Leader Schumer. The Connecticut senator tweeted Monday, quote, "No cabinet nominee should be considered without financial disclosure and background checks. I am calling for a timeout until necessary info is submitted." And the Democratic senator joins me now from Capitol Hill. Thanks so much for joining us, Senator.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, why does it matter whether nominees finish the financial disclosure and background check process before beginning their hearings?
The background check process by the FBI discloses things as simple as whether someone has been arrested, whether someone has made statements that may indicate extreme prejudice or bias or bigotry, what is in someone's past in terms of other conflicts of interest. And the financial disclosure form enables us to know what that person's dealings have been. You know, someone at a lower level, bureaucratic level in the federal government and United States attorney, which I was for a while, would have to disclose these kinds of materials before they were ever even considered by the White House for an appointment. Here we have some of the most important public positions of trust and responsibility, and still we don't have basic information to use when we question them in a hearing.
Well, Senator, our Nancy Cordes spoke earlier with Senator Rand Paul. He says he's confident that all of the cabinet picks will be approved. Are there any nominees in particular that you would have reservations about?
I would have extraordinarily serious reservations about Tom Price, who has been nominated to be Secretary of Health and Human Services, because of his extreme opposition to any form of health insurance, as well as his opposition to women's health care. I oppose Scott Pruitt because of his opposition to the mandate and mission of the Environmental Protection Agency, which he's been nominated to head. And I have serious concerns about Jeff Sessions. We'll have a hearing about him tomorrow, to be nominated as Attorney General of the United States. I served as a federal prosecutor, the United States Attorney in Connecticut, and I worked with the Department of Justice when I was Attorney General of the state of Connecticut. So I know this position. It is an extraordinarily important one, where the person serving as Attorney General has to be willing to stand up to the president and say, no, you're wrong, you're violating the law, and he has to be a champion of civil rights and liberties.
Well, Senator, you spent a lot of the day tweeting about Obamacare's impact on Connecticut. You said it's positive. Republican lawmakers plan to repeal it, but some are starting to raise concerns about repeal without a replacement. Is there any form of a replacement bill that you are willing to support?
I am more than willing to support improvements and repairs to the Affordable Care Act, which is by no means perfect. No major reform, including Social Security, ever was perfect the first time around. So yes, some kind of repair, improvement, but not complete repeal without any replacement, which would cause untold chaos, catastrophic costs, higher premiums, denial of coverage for people with pre-existing conditions or young people on their parents' insurance policy up to the age of 26. And of course, the prohibition against discrimination against women, charging them more simply because they are women for health insurance, would be lost as well. So these kinds of aspects of the Affordable Care Act are extremely important to preserve. I want to fix the cost to small businesses and the stability and flexibility of certain of the rules, but abolishing it, repealing it without a replacement, I think, is just wrong.
On another issue, Senator, we now know that the president-elect's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, will soon be named, or has been named, rather, senior advisor. Mr. Trump has called Kushner a tremendous asset. Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz has said that the move will raise some questions. What do you make of this choice?
It will raise questions in terms of potential conflicts of interest. He is very closely associated with at least one bank that's under investigation, criminal investigation, apparently, and reportedly. He also has continued real estate interests in New York and other parts of the world, the metropolitan region there. So there are going to be questions, and he's a special advisor, which means there is no Senate confirmation. But there will still be very serious inquiry about what his involvement may be in certain kinds of ongoing activities.
And lastly, Senator, another mass shooting just occurred on Friday, this time at the airport in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Authorities say the suspect bought the gun he used legally, but he also had a history of mental illness. Democrats were unable to pass comprehensive gun and mental health reform when they had the majority. And I wonder, will we see the gun control debate reignited soon?
It will be reignited, and I'm going to make sure that it continues to be ignited, because it is so profoundly important to save at least some of those 33,000 lives that are lost every year to gun violence. I come from Connecticut, where the Sandy Hook massacre reignited the debate some years ago, but it's not only Sandy Hook, it is Fort Lauderdale most recently, and the many other massacres and individual shootings that are preventable, senseless, avoidable with common sense measures like background checks or a ban on assault weapons and high capacity magazines and no fly, no buy. If you're too dangerous to board a plane as a terrorist on a watch list, you should be barred from buying or purchasing a gun. These kinds of common sense measures will come before us, I hope, again, and maybe be supported by Donald Trump, who should have every bit the same interest as President Obama did in preventing senseless gun violence.
All right, Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.